Well, everyone, it's been a ride. The Winnipeg Jets eliminated in 5 games to the Colorado Avalanche in, pretty tough circumstances. Game 5, much better than a lot of the games in this series. However, Jets not able to get it done, and what was a very, very unexpected, very fun season, very successful season for the Winnipeg Jets, ends in a whimper. And, I know in my last video I was saying it was embarrassing how, the Jets were rolling this out here in the playoffs. And I still stand by that. I think that it was stupid, the lineup decisions, the lack of adjustments, players even calling out Rick Bowness for the lack of adjustments. And, we're sitting here today out in 5 in the exact same position as the Jets were last season, but with a much better roster. Last year, the Jets roster was much thinner than it was this year, and maybe we had some, unrealistic expectations on them, but their effort was noticeably bad. Guys were not trying out there. We know, the Pierre-Luc Dubois or, just a lot of guys on that team really didn't seem like they cared. And Rick Bowness called them out, he called them disgusting, and the entire locker room turned on him. And they said, you know what, it wasn't a disgusting effort. Even management made him go in the next day in locker cleanout day and walk back his words. And there was no reason for that. He was absolutely right. He got big respect points from me there. This year, I feel like, a lot of the players were given it, but just the coaching wasn't there this year. It just really wasn't in the playoffs. I don't think the adjustments were there, as I had said before. I don't know. Colorado did really whatever they wanted, and Colorado's a great team. Ton of future Hall of Famers on that team, and they're tough to stop. But you got to do a better job than that. And the Jets were a good team this year. Very full team, just great depth over the entire lineup. Maybe something to be desired on defense, and we'll talk about that later. But, forward core-wise, I thought they were the better team all around. And they're out in 5 to the Avalanche. One game won 7-6, but could not keep that puck out of their net. The amount of high-danger chances that they were allowing was unreal. The lack of, being able to kill a penalty reliably. I feel like if you get 3 penalties in the game, if you're the Jets, you're probably allowing 2. Or at least 1, right? It is just really tough. And it's not just against Colorado. It was rough all year in that department, and for a large part of the year, the power play was bad as well. That falls on the shoulders of Brad Lauer. I don't expect him to have a job for very much longer, at least in Winnipeg. I'll talk about the individual coaches in just a second here, but it just felt like they were out of sync. It did not feel like anybody was on the same page come playoff time, and it felt for a lot of the season that they were. And I don't mean to, beat this dead horse some more, but it just felt like the lineup that Rick Bowness wanted to put out was problematic, and he had this vision, but the vision was just not working out, but he kept going back to it. He would change it every once in a while, and the changes would be fruitful, they would work, and then he'd go away from something that was working very well. One of those things being the Ehlers, Scheifele, and Gabe Vilardi line. That line was dynamite when Kyle Connor was hurt, and then he came back, and I didn't understand why they put Kyle Connor back on the first line. I don't mind trying new things, right? And that was the first time that they had all 3 of those guys healthy. They started them at the beginning of the year, and now, they finally get to try that line out, and it didn't work. But he kept trying to put the square block through the circle hole. And, again, he went away from it, he tried some different lines, and they worked out great. But, time and time again, most of the time, that line did not work out. They did more harm than good, and in the end, in the playoffs, that's the line that was the number 1 line. They played well, they played better than they did in the regular season, but at the end of the day, they were not winning their matchups. And then he goes out, changes the top 6 in Game 4, very slightly. Lines moved around all across that game, and then in Game 5 he finally put together a very solid lineup. Actually played Cole Perfetti, who was a monster in that game, may I add, in Game 5, one of the most noticeable players. And then through 40 minutes, the Jets down 3-2 in a game that they looked really good in, he turned around and he said, no, we're going back to the old reliable lines, right, of Connor, Scheifele, Vilardi, and Ehlers, Monahan, Toffoli. And it didn't work, and the Jets blew that game. They tied it up at 3-3, and then they fell apart and collapsed. And if that's not the most fitting thing ever to end the season, I don't know what is. Rick Bowness, I love the guy, great coach and everything like that. He did, really great things here in Winnipeg, and I don't think the Jets would have had a successful season as they did this year without him. But really rough when it comes down to it. When it matters, I don't know if Rick's that guy, and I do think that he'll probably retire this offseason. I don't imagine he's going to be coming back. The team does have a team option on his contract, but I think the Jets and Rick Bowness are going to be parting ways. So what does that mean now going forward for the bench? Well, I think you're probably going to see Brad Lauer get fired. I think that's the most obvious one. Let's say Rick Bowness retires. I think Marty Johnson, keep him, take him or leave him. I really don't care. Wade Flaherty, goaltender coach, probably will still be there. I don't imagine that he'll be moved. And then Scott Arniel, the associate coach, does he stay without Rick Bowness? The deal when he came here was, hey, I want to be working with Rick. If he's the head coach, I'll be the associate coach. Does he want to be the head coach? We'll have to see, right? I could see Winnipeg going that route. I would like them to go a different route. I feel like Arniel is kind of just Rick Bowness adjacent. Did a good job in the time that he was here. Playing head coach in Rick Bowness's absence, but I'm not sure if he's really the guy we want at this point. I think the lineup's going to look a lot younger next season. We're going to be losing guys probably like Toffoli, Monahan, maybe even Dylan DeMello, Brendan Dillon. I think we'll probably keep one of those two defensemen, but I don't see Toffoli, Monahan coming back. And then, that opens up some spots in the top six. I think Cole Perfetti's going to be a regular top sixer, as he should be next season. And I think that maybe Brad Lambert maybe gets a shot. We'll see how he does in the preseason and, how he progresses in the offseason. But I think there could be some youthful injections into this Jets team next season. And I don't know if Scott Arniel is the right coach to handle maybe a younger roster. We'll have to see. So that's a lot of the immediate problems. And then you've got Cole Perfetti, of course, that is an RFA. He'll need a new contract. That one might get dragged out a little bit. I think that he's going to probably ask for a bit of money, and the Jets are going to, probably try to lowball him. I don't know. I think that one's going to drag on a little bit. Probably a bridge deal coming Cole Perfetti's way, as I'm sure he does not want to sign long-term yet, as, the way that he was managed this season by Rick Bowness and his staff. But going past the free agents this year, we have guys that are on their last years of their deals going into next year, and that's Nikolaj Ehlers and Nate Schmidt. And truthfully, I don't know if Nikolaj Ehlers is back next season. And that is a really weird, maybe out of left thing to say, but I've been seeing a lot of people say it, and it kind of makes sense. I'm, one of the biggest Nick Ehlers fans out there, but, it kind of does make sense. Going into a contract year, when your game is built on speed and skill, once you start to slow down, the speed and skill slows down as well. And when that's your whole game is speed, you lose that, Nick Ehlers becomes far less effective. And I wonder if the Jets kind of are thinking about that and looking at their back end and being like, maybe we can move Ehlers for maybe a defenseman, maybe, something along the lines of that. The defense needs a retool bad, and, losing Nick Ehlers would be a big blow to this team. It absolutely would. But, is Nick Ehlers going to re-sign here? I don't think so. Not the way that he's been used in his career. I think he wants to go somewhere and be a top-line guy, and I think he's going to get top-line player money. But that's just kind of how I see it. He's been a monster on this team. But I just wonder if this is the end of the line this offseason. I think this team could look very different, guys. I think this could be very chaotic. I think we're going to see a lot of young guys next year, but I do think that there's going to be something big coming, and it might be this offseason. Who knows? But that's just me speculating. We'll see what happens here in the offseason. Maybe the Jets do load up again, do what they did this season, acquire some rentals and go for it. But yeah, I don't know. This is the end of the year, and feels a little disappointing, I'm not going to lie. I really did think the Jets could beat the Colorado Avalanche, but alas, they're out in 5 games and the Avs are rolling. We'll see what happens the rest of the way in the playoffs. Good luck to the Avalanche. But yeah, this is crazy. Wild year, guys. Thanks so much for watching, all year long. If you've been a long-time subscriber, if you joined halfway through the year, you might have. We had big growth on the channel this year. Thank you so much for joining along the way. It was a lot of fun, and I'm not going away. I'm still going to have some fun videos, some bigger projects in this off season. Lots of videos still to be made. We'll be covering free agency, the draft, and I got a lot of off-brand content coming as well that I'll have more time to work on, so hope you guys enjoy that. But that's all I got, guys. Leave a comment down below. How did you feel about this Jets season? Was it good? Disappointing? Let me know. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.